Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1982. We're going to be taking a look at the godfather of soul himself, James Brown, and he's going to be performing Get Up, I Wanna Be Like a Sex Machine. So let's get James up on screen and see how he gets on.
Let's count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get up. When we say get up, what do we mean? When we say get up, what do we mean? Get on up. Get up.
Get up.
Get up and party. Get up and party. Get up and party. We want to see a party. Is that all right, fellas? Count it off. 1, 2, 3, 4. Get up. Get up. Stay on the scene. Sex machine. Get up.
I'm just going to jump in here. This is one of those videos that's so difficult to interrupt because James Brown is in full flow here. And the thing about any performance that you look at with James was his ability to get the crowd involved with the performances. And we have that with this performance as well, of course. And you know that because this is from Late Night with David Letterman, the audience is going to be seated and there isn't that energy that you might have in the audience when you're playing a gig and they're close to the front of the stage and everyone's pushed forward and so close to the performer. Whereas James Brown could just shrink that distance no matter what the venue or the occasion of the performance, he got the crowd involved. And you can see from the shot at the back of the audience, everyone's up on their feet, just clapping along, getting into the performance, even though it is on a chat show. And the format sometimes is hard to bridge that gap to an audience, and you'll see some performances where it's a little bit more stale because it isn't a normal show. It is very much set up like a chat show, and then they've got music on the side. On the original record, you've got the interaction between James and the band, and that is simulated to a certain extent here as well, but it's something that James uses to get the crowd involved, and the band are into it as well. Their part in the intro is so important. It is so well carried out, executed by James Brown and the band in the intro to get everybody up on their feet and start to lay the foundation of the feel that we're about to experience with the track, because it's just got that groove and that funk running through it, and you can't stand still when you listen to James Brown because of the groove in there, the energy always in the band and the performance, but also the energy coming straight from James, the way that he would deliver the vocal and dance and move. All of his mannerisms were so infectious, and he also had an infectious personality, so that when he was on the mic, you listened to every single word he was saying, and he just got you interested. Even now, watching this video so many years later, and we know it's not live, but you're still as engaged as everybody was on that night. But getting into the analysis with this composition, and with a lot of James Brown compositions and songs that he performed, he loved taking it to the bridge. And just in case you don't know what a bridge is in music, it's a part of the song that is different to the verse and the chorus, and generally you will have it 3/4 of the way through a song, especially when referred to as a middle eight. That's when it usually pops up, just to keep the interest in the song by taking you somewhere different musically, but then coming back to the chorus for the end of the song. Whereas James Brown just took it to the bridge quite a lot. Within this composition, we are bouncing between what you would class as the verse / chorus to the bridge, or the middle eight. But then we're bouncing between those two. And when James does throw it to the bridge, he then gets into the dance routine and throws together another element of entertainment on stage with his dancing and his legs, and just watching him move. There's a lot of rehearsal that's gone into that to make it look so smooth. With the dancing, it's just another element that's added in there to be even more entertaining, as well as the musical ability, the vocal ability, and the unique vocal quality that James Brown had, as well as just throwing his voice up into that head voice, going well up into his range, and just having that ability to just flip it up there. Interestingly, another guy called Jackie Wilson, who I did a video on a few nights ago now, was the same kind of performer, starting to integrate dance routines and dance moves into his vocal performances, and could throw his vocals up an octave. So check out that video if you get a chance. But there's a reason why James Brown was considered an idol in Michael Jackson's eyes, because of all of these elements that he managed to combine in live performances, as well as having that vocal control, that vocal ability. One thing that James Brown did, and he does it in this performance, goes over to the piano and starts playing the classic riff that we all know. It's something that I never saw Michael Jackson do, but Michael Jackson did certainly focus a lot of his attention on taking the dancing to another level. There is so much that James could do, and a lot of people will look at a guy like James as the all-round entertainer, performer, singer, and songwriter, producer, musician, instrumentalist. What you'll find is that the guys back in the 50s, the 60s, and the 70s, they had such a wide skill set, and that's why they dominated the airwaves, because they were the best of the best. So that guys who were great at singing and great at writing songs and maybe great at playing an instrument then had to produce in the studio, and that's a totally different set of skills that you need in order to have an ear for production, and that's something that James Brown had. Once you add all of these elements together, that is what separates the great artists from the legendary artists, because the legendary artists could do everything, and they might have a band, and when you're looking for leadership in a band, it's like having a team. If you haven't got a guy at the front of the stage who can captain that team and get everybody on the same page and driving towards the same goal, then you're not going to get a great performance. And James Brown was a great band leader. It's another skill that he had. And all of these other skills would fly under the radar because he was such an engaging performer. You don't think about all of the things that he could do behind the scenes. Like he showed there, playing the piano, he's got that ability instrumentally, but he would rather be out the front of the stage engaging the audience and using his personality, because that's what gets people engaged. And you can imagine that James Brown behind the piano would have been probably just as entertaining, but he didn't want that physical barrier. He wanted to break down that space between him and the audience so that the audience felt like they were on stage with him. We are going to be getting back into the video, but as you can see, it's over 13 minutes in length, and I'm not going to look at the whole thing, so I'm going to put the link to this in the description below so you guys can watch the video all the way through if you want to, and it's definitely worth a watch because of the extent to which the crowd get into this performance, and they're up on their feet and chanting and clapping, and it is much more like a James Brown show and gig than a talk show. Also, let's give a shout out to the band here, the world's most dangerous band, because Paul Schaefer in the background. It's interesting that a few nights ago his name popped up during the Blues Brothers video that I did, and he was involved with that, getting all the top musicians along for that lineup, but also Steve Jordan on drums here. It's something that Paul said about Steve, that when he realized he was going to be playing with James Brown, he wanted to play everything like the record, but with R&B for live performances, the tempo is always pushed to get that energy in there. So Steve does such a great job on the drums here, and also Will Lee on bass. Listen to the rest of this video if you get a chance. Head to that link in the description below, because when you watch this performance, initially you're just going to be blown away by James Brown, but then listen to Will Lee on bass, the groove that is in there. I always say that the rhythm section is the foundation to any live performance, and these guys are the world's most dangerous band because they are so spot on, considering that they're not playing with James Brown night in, night out for years. They're just producing this quality this night. So it's great to listen to. We've also got Hiram Bullock in the shot we can see on rhythm guitar. Such great chops in there. The groove is in there. Of course, we've got the James Brown horns in there as well. But let's get back into this and appreciate this performance from every single angle.
Get up, get on up, stay on the scene, set shooting up. Get up, get on up, stay on the scene, set shooting up. I want to go to the bridge. Can I go to the bridge? Can I go to the bridge? Can I do it like I did before? Can I go to the bridge? One more year.
And there we have it. What's great to get a look at in this video and in the performance is the amount of respect that James Brown has for the band and vice versa. You can tell that they're all on the same page here musically, and they've got a musical rapport with each other. And this happens sometimes when top artists and top musicians, instrumentalists get together and they've never played before, but they just jam out something legendary because of the level of musicianship and the rapport that they have from a musical perspective with each other, and they can just bounce off each other. That's exactly what we get throughout this whole performance with James Brown and the world's most dangerous band. It's something that adds an extra element of depth to the performance, not only from an entertainment perspective, but from a musician's perspective, because any musician watching this will get a buzz because of the interaction between James and the band and the fact that they're so tight and so into it. And Hiram on rhythm guitar, the way that he's dancing, he's totally into the groove because everyone's into the groove here. Like I said, it starts with the rhythm section, but that is totally solid. Another thing is, Paul Schaefer said about this performance, when James Brown played that little keys solo and the riff, when he turns around, he gives Paul a high 10, he hits both of his hands, and then Paul said to James after the performance that he wasn't going to wash his hands now for 10 years because James Brown had given him a high 10. But it's that kind of respect that you can look at an artist like James Brown, and I'm sure the guys in the band loved having him on the show and were massive fans, but then James Brown had respect for the band because of the level of musicianship that they could produce just for the night. But this is one of those performances that could be analysed for years because of the artist in question, but also I haven't even mentioned about funk and the groove and everything that is ingrained into James Brown's music with syncopation. And it's something that I'll have to address in the future. I will do another video on James Brown, also get into his music career and his background and all of the things that he achieved. Obviously, it's impossible to cover in a 15 or 20 minute video, but I will do another one in the future, maybe get into syncopation and how it stands out and how it's so infectious with the bounce that's in there, just to show a little bit about what's going on musically. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one.